Intel is up 40% this year. On April 7th, 2026, its stock jumped again after one announcement, a partnership with Elon Musk on Terafab, a chip project valued at roughly $20 billion. That is the bet now hanging over Intel's comeback. If Terafab delivers, Intel moves closer to the center of the AI hardware race. If it stumbles, one of the market's strongest recovery stories suddenly looks exposed. Late in March, Musk said Tesla and SpaceX would build 2 advanced chip factories in Texas. Days later, Intel stepped in as the headline partner. The stated goal is enormous: secure AI chip supply for Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI, and eventually target 1 terawatt of annual processing capacity. This is not a routine supplier agreement. It is an attempt to bring a critical part of Musk's AI future closer to home. That is why the announcement hit Intel shares immediately. Investors did not just see another partnership. They saw Intel attaching itself to one of the most aggressive build-outs in AI infrastructure. The company has already rallied about 40% since the start of the year. Terafab now turns that momentum into a test. Can Intel actually help deliver the manufacturing backbone Musk wants, or has the market moved faster than the factories can? For Musk, the logic is clear. Tesla needs more compute. SpaceX needs more compute. xAI needs more compute. And when advanced chips become the bottleneck, control over supply starts to matter almost as much as the software running on top of it. Terafab is a way to reduce dependence on outside suppliers and push more of that leverage inside Musk's own orbit. But this is where the story gets dangerous. Building advanced chip capacity at this scale is expensive, slow, and unforgiving. A $20 billion project creates expectations before it creates results. The bigger the promise, the narrower the margin for error. And because Intel's name is now on the project, any stumble would not look like a side experiment. It would look like a blow to Intel's recovery narrative. The power of Terafab is not that it has already changed the industry. It hasn't. The power is that it signals intent. Musk is saying he does not want Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI waiting in line forever for the next wave of AI hardware. Intel is saying it wants back inside the most important race in tech. That combination is enough to make markets pay attention long before the first long-term outcome is clear. The timing sharpens everything. In early April, SpaceX confidentially filed for an IPO in the United States with plans to go public by the end of 2026. The filing is a separate event from Terafab, but together they show how much of Musk's empire is moving at once: capital, manufacturing, and AI capacity. Billions are already in motion around this story, even before anyone knows whether the chip build-out will live up to the ambition. That is the real reason this story is not about abstract tech hierarchy. It is about exposure. Intel has attached a 40% stock rally to a bold new semiconductor partnership. Musk has attached part of his supply strategy to a project that now has a public price tag, a public partner, and a public deadline atmosphere around it. The more visible the bet becomes, the harder it is for either side to hide if execution slips. And if execution does slip, the first damage is easy to picture. Intel risks turning optimism into doubt. Musk's companies remain exposed to the outside chip market they are trying to depend on less. Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI do not suddenly stop needing compute, and Intel does not suddenly stop needing proof that its comeback has substance. Terafab matters because it sits directly between those needs and those expectations. If it works, the upside is obvious. Musk's companies get a stronger claim on advanced AI chip supply. Intel gets to say it is no longer watching the AI build-out from the sidelines. The project's 1 terawatt processing target becomes more than an audacious number. It becomes evidence that this partnership can scale. That is the version of the story markets are leaning toward when they buy Intel higher on announcement day. If it does not, the failure will not need to be catastrophic to matter. Delays matter. Missed capacity matters. Underperforming chips matter. In a business this capital intensive, disappointment carries its own gravity. A partnership announced as a statement of strength can quickly start looking like an expensive reminder of how hard this industry is to bend. That is why the thumbnail says billions are on the line. Not because this story needs invented losers, and not because the outcome is already decided. The stakes are already big enough in the verified facts. a $20 billion project to stock up roughly 40% this year, a same-day jump after the announcement, and a SpaceX IPO filing, aiming for $75 billion in fresh capital and a $2 trillion valuation target. You do not need to exaggerate that, you just need to understand how much pressure it creates. So the real question is not whether Terafab has already rewritten the chip industry. It hasn't. The question is whether Intel can convert market excitement into real execution, and whether Musk can turn a supply problem into an advantage for Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI. If the answer is yes, Intel's comeback looks more real than ever. If the answer is no, this rally, this project, and this entire promise start to look a lot more fragile. CapitalRifts, where money breaks.